Earlier today at a rally in North Carolina, Donald Trump warned supporters that if Hillary Clinton is elected president and appoints judges to the Supreme Court, there's nothing anyone can do about it, adding that, although the Second Amendment, people, maybe there is, I don't know. Now, go easy on Trump here, because does anyone really think he has any idea which amendment the Second Amendment is, how many amendments there are, or, what an amendment actually is? Trump vs. Hillary starts now!
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Now, you see, here's an instance where I picked some music yesterday because I called the episode Short Circuit. Now, if I picked it today, I would have done something different. Now, this is probably more for our older audience out there. Maybe even people on the panel don't know why this song is the jam.
No, I don't know this
Scott,
song.
do you recognize this song and know why?
Short Circuit.
Yeah, from the film
from the movie.
Short Circuit. It's called Who's Johnny by DeBarge. So I was like, well, I can use DeBarge. There's an amazing video that you can kind of see up there.
Oh,
Chelsea,
wow.
Steven, you guys are going to learn a lot about the 80s from this one video.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Trump versus Hillary. I am your moderator, Christian Bladt, at Christian DMZ. To my left, your right, Chelsea Galicia, at Chelsea Galicia. Welcome back.
Thank you. Missed you guys a lot.
We missed you too. On assignment, Drexel Hurd. Drexel, you better show up in the live chat, as Steven said before we started. And speaking of Steven Helmkamp, look at you, just firmly entrenched at the big boy table.
Right
there.
Don't get too used to it.
Yeah, that's right. You'll be back on the couch next week, I'm
feeling
sure.
real good.
And next to him, Scott Moore, at SMan80. If I didn't say Steven Helmkamp, at Steven Helmkamp, it's still a private account, though, right? So
hey, I'll open it up.
All right,
I don't have nothing to hide. I'm not being audited.
After
I will
he vets
open
you.
it up.
yeah, you got to vet everybody.
And
That's
see how
fine.
many
You gotta
speculative
be
statements you've ever made in your life.
Legally, you gotta go, but you gotta be accepted legally.
And of course, remember the show's Twitter is at TrumpHillary16. Follow us there, like us on YouTube, comment, rate us on iTunes. So if you've turned into the live version of the show on YouTube right now, please join us in the chat, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of the chat up there on the screen, and we'll comment when we can. But if you're watching the show live, you've no doubt tuned in to hear about one story in particular. So we'll start with that story. Chelsea, why were you arrested?
Oh, this is still a...
Let's come clean, Chelsea. This is your intervention.
We've been teasing it for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, because we mentioned it last week and you weren't here. I joked that maybe you got arrested again.
Oh, I wish.
I do too.
This time it could have been like a real arrest.
Criminal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I was arrested for participated in a sit-in at the Capitol.
And this was just earlier this year, right?
This was in April. I was with Democracy Spring, the same event where Rosario Dawson and Ben and Jerry and 1,400 other people sat in over the course of a week, and we all got arrested. But my arrest, I say, was like arrest light because there were no cuffs, there were no zip ties even.
Oh, you didn't even get zip tied?
Right.
No. I got a wristband, like this kind you do when you go to a club.
Yeah.
And Capitol Police are very, very well trained. They know, like, keep it all very nice for the cameras and everything. The guy even asked me, "Is this too tight?" So that's my arrest story. We weren't even taken anywhere. The people who got arrested on the first day were bussed off site. But there were so many people that overwhelmed the warehouse, so they just processed us on the side of the Capitol. I don't know if I should maybe make it sound like a more rough and tumble arrest story.
I mean, maybe.
I think
you
so.
know?
That's
when you're
telling the story of you.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I
that's a great observation.
I
It's very
was
burning.
arrested in the morning and visiting the Supreme Court in the afternoon. So, I mean, if only justice was that swift.
I was going to say, I call that swift justice.
That's some
So,
street cred.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask, you guys ever been arrested? I haven't.
Heck no.
No, I'm not.
I like that Scott had to think about it. He's
well,
like,
there were a few couple times there where maybe
Yeah, but you talked your way out of it.
Yeah, I should have been probably. But
everybody should be afraid of me now.
you're the hardened criminal on the panel.
Yeah, I am known for being crowding, obstructing, or incommoding. That's what you can count on me for.
The commoding is definitely happening. Right. And just so you guys know, I did see her working on a shiv before the show, so just look out for it. So apparently, there's a bigger story than that. The Republican presidential candidate, apparently, I did not see this story. He suggested people shoot Hillary Clinton. Did you guys see this? I somehow missed it.
Oh, man.
And so
Steven, I think we got to go straight to Steven.
We'll go straight to Steven in a second.
Defend this.
What I'll say, I'll first say what
Indefensible.
Trump spokesman Jason Miller, that's going to be a great job to have, just in general, but especially today.
A busy job.
He said that Trump was not speaking literally, and this is the quote. It's called the power of unification. Second Amendment people have amazing spirit and are tremendously unified, which gives them great political power. Stephen, do you feel like this was a Second Amendment unification issue? That's what he meant? You guys will get unified and you'll stand behind the Second Amendment issue and prevent her from repealing it?
So let me be real clear for the record here. I disavow that assassination statement. I completely disavow it. I feel like Trump sometimes gets on the national stage and talks to people like he's sitting at a dinner table for two.
Would you say that? I would never say that over a dinner table for two.
I would say dinner table for two after several drinks.
But Trump would.
I mean,
I'm thinking clearly.
I've
never said something that, implies shooting an elected official or someone running. I've definitely said things over a dinner table that I wouldn't say on this panel or in front of any camera.
Yes.
But not
Trump
assassinate
likes
somebody.
to joke. He likes to have fun. He likes to whatever. And I'm not saying that he was right for saying that.
He's really working on having a tight 10-minute set to work at the comic strip, so I can't wait to see it.
He said it. There's no weaseling out of it.
They're trying.
I think we should
of course
take
they're going to
this
have to try.
and turn this into a teachable moment.
Yes, I was going to say, Chelsea, you did a little homework to make sure that you had the correct
I was double checking because I don't remember a lot of things from law school. But
well, they say if you can remember law school, you weren't really there. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, they do they?
Well, they say it about the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, I went in the 2000s, so I guess it's a different
That's
story.
why you don't know DeBarge.
Be that as
Anyway,
it may.
be that as it may.
So if Hillary is elected, any president is elected, they can't just overturn any constitutional amendment. They would have to have a 2/3 vote in both the House and the Senate to repeal any
Don't the states
amendment.
have to be involved with that too?
They can if that's the route that's going on for the anti-corruption movement because Congress isn't taking care of it itself. So they're going through the states, and the states can, by 2/3 majority, ask there to be a convention held to repeal an amendment. But basically, it's a big freaking deal.
You got to get the House and the Senate involved.
That
And
nobody-
it's not Chelsea. I'm sorry, not Chelsea Clinton. She'll be our president in like 20 years.
Right.
Hillary Clinton won't sit down on the first day and go like, all right, Second Amendment, and just kind of do one of those
Cross
big
it
stretch
out.
it
She doesn't want
out.
to do that. She
all
wants
the
to just
things.
vet people that are applying to get a gun. She wants to make it harder for people to get assault rifles, and I'm totally for that. And I think secretly Trump is too.
The majority of Americans are. It's in like the 80%.
Exactly.
And I think Trump is too, but Trump has to stay
checks.
and unite the base. So therefore, you have all these gun-loving
Unite the
Republicans.
base by just an outright lie and threat to somebody's life.
Well, I'm saying in terms of going against guns and saying that Hillary Clinton wants to take your guns away. She doesn't want to take your guns away.
I know what you're saying.
She wants to make sure that you don't
base,
get
but-
shot by people who shouldn't have guns. That's what she wants to make sure of. So it just sucks. I feel like Trump secretly feels like that, but he can't openly say that because he would completely lose
He's
already what he
been
has.
afraid to be too honest. Is this his problem in life?
Jennifer Wright in the chat says,
Touche.
why should he have to explain every little thing when Hillary obviously doesn't explain anything? I mean, there is a point to be made there, but this isn't a little thing. This is kind of a big thing. And, it's come at a really bad time for him.
But on that point, we could take that generally, and we have a strong argument with this person's point. I mean,
Jennifer.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
But
I know what you're saying, though, about the base. If he was to somehow support background checks and everything, the base that he's depending on, that's all that he has left.
Exactly.
Would not be as enthusiastic about
so he's
for him,
like, great, she's going to take your guns. Now, what I thought was kind of fascinating, I follow a number of conservatives on Twitter, and the hardcore Trump people really jumped into action for damage control. They immediately started pointing to, in 2012, the Obama campaign implied Mitt Romney was a murderer because of a woman who wasn't covered by health insurance. And, you click on a link and it was a PAC ad. That's not a campaign ad. And also he didn't say you should shoot his opponent. So it's sort of like you can't just...
It's not the exact same thing.
They're just like Trump in the way that you can't ever say like, you know what, that was a bad one. Shouldn't have happened. Let's move on from it. Everybody, whether you're Trump, you're in the Trump camp, or you're a Trump supporter, you always got to double down and like, Oh, you think that was wrong?
Yeah,
no,
you guys see both
you're
sides of the
wrong.
coin.
Yeah.
My buddy told me this on the way over here, actually. And Hillary Clinton, when she was asked during the primary, if Bernie gets the nominee, are you going to drop out? Or are you going to drop out? She's like, no, Bernie could get shot. Then what? So
I don't remember that.
She
don't
was,
either.
I don't either. I'm pretty sure I would have heard that.
I would have, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you would have been very upset that someone would even talk about Bernie like that.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. So it's a weird argument to make. It's one of those points where it's definitely like, oh, you're losing the argument. So like when you're a kid, and you would just be like, well, fine, and you'd stomp out.
Yeah.
So like, oh yeah, well,
so did you, or you did it worse.
Obama,
said
and then it's
this.
kind of like the answer for everything.
And I feel like you lose credibility when you do that, when you can't see both sides of the coin.
Yeah, and let's not have it be said that Stephen Helmkamp doesn't see both sides of the coin.
Yeah,
on occasion.
what about for the rest of the panel?
Yeah. That's really why Drexel's not here.
Right.
He was going to
No,
be too
that's
angry.
absolutely
That was a jab.
not true.
That was a shot at my
He's
sparring
having a sweet
partner.
potato pie right now that I wish I could be having too.
But
I will
Stephen,
be his voice.
Stephen, we were talking beforehand, and it's not like it's to your point about how he talks conversationally sometimes when he shouldn't. I seriously doubt he set out this morning and he's like, all right, I'm going to say this.
But this does speak to that little exchange that Newt Gingrich had with the interviewer the other day, where he was asked, what do you think of his mental health? Should I quote?
Her mental health?
Let me quote this.
That was in question.
Dang it, I switched out of it. Oh, no, here it is. He was asked, does Donald Trump have the mental fitness, the kind of psychological suitability to the office of the presidency? Pause. Yeah. And my answer would be sure. Sure.
Sure.
I mean, he is at least as reliable as Andrew Jackson, who was one of the most decisive presidents in American history. Nobody would have predicted Abraham Lincoln's capabilities before he became president, and most people didn't believe him while he was president.
I feel like
It
this
goes
is a little
on
bit
as
of
like
a
a
headline.
ridiculous.
I feel like this is a little bit of a headline to get us away from the issues.
Yes.
No.
Comparing
This is-
him to
The
Lincoln.
policies and
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
the point of this is that somebody who was one of his big allies, who was perhaps the only establishment Republican at the convention, who is memorable, who was right behind him, who was ready to be his VP, I think.
Whatever Trump needs, Newt's there. He's ready to help.
he's seeing the other side of the
was
coin.
saying, not so sure.
Because if he doesn't, then you lose credibility. If you're going in there and Trump does no wrong, Hillary does no wrong, there's nothing that they're either.
But that's not
they're
what
relying
this
on.
is
That's you
saying.
lose
That's not
credibility.
about does no wrong. This is psychological suitability for the office of the presidency.
Although yesterday he thought his speech was great and then went on and supported that. So it's a different day.
There's a lot of about
It's a big
faces
difference.
around the
Yeah.
Trump camp, which we'll get to in a second. Now, what I do want to talk about for a moment is, I am, not a big or even slight conspiracy theory guy, and people do talk about this all the time, that Trump really doesn't want to run for president. He's a plan. He's trying to help Hillary. And I think that even if that were true, all of a sudden he got a whiff that he might win, and he's like, forget it, the deal's off. But the timing is fascinating, because just when there starts to be some real heat on Hillary, things are starting to look bad, and we'll get into the WikiLeaks dump and her short circuit comment. But, there's some real heat on Hillary, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, no, don't worry, I got this. Hillary, sit down. You're going to love this. Hill, you're going to love this. Donnie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Second Amendment people, what do you think? So, I don't know.
He just can't help himself.
He can't help
He's
himself.
like, I keep winning.
And this is a guy you want to trust.
Well,
This guy I
it's a
wanna
guy you're
trust?
considering maybe trusting.
It's not just that. I mean, it's the lesser of two evils.
The lesser, I don't know.
Where are you, Gary Johnson and Jill Stein? Let's get some media coverage on you.
Oh, should we now talk about Evan McCullen?
We can talk about Evan McCullen
Evan
since you
who?
brought him up. Yeah, exactly.
Mr.
McMullen, by the way. I believe is
McMullen,
McCullen. I love that he's like, it's never too late to do the right thing, except he's already too late
for more than half the state's
way
ballots.
too late.
So,
Yeah.
you actually are a little too late.
And let's talk about Evan McMullen. He's a former CIA officer, and he wants to offer conservatives who abhor Trump, which apparently there are many, someone to vote for who is an actual conservative. And, look, he's getting in really late. There's not much that's going to happen. But I was reading an article that he's a practicing Mormon, and that could certainly complicate one state. I think it would be Utah, and a state that, of course, the Trump campaign would be counting on for all of their electoral math has to have Utah in it.
There's 6
and
votes.
It's fine, but why now? That's
Right.
to your point. It's like
It's way
Because
too
it's
late.
never too late.
Right.
Well,
To
it
do
but
the
it's,
right thing.
except for it's never too late,
Yeah.
except for when it's too late.
Right.
It feels like it's a distraction and take away from Trump.
He just bought a ticket to get onto an airplane that took off like 2 months ago.
It's the conservatives that don't want to cast the vote for
yeah.
Trump.
And
Right.
don't want to, and still don't want to vote for Gary Johnson.
Right. And speaking of third parties and Gary Johnson, I was reading that the debate commission was like, all right, you know what? Let's take a couple minutes. Let's look at all these venues. Let's figure out how we would do the stage if there were going to be 3 podiums. I still don't know that that's going to happen, and you run into a lot of problems even if Gary Johnson does poll at 15%. But
Did he go down in the polls?
He did.
I did see that. Yeah.
He's at
He
like
has
9 now,
He
right?
has
yeah,
gone down
he was
now,
at 12. I don't know if he was at 12
He was
last
at
week.
13 at one point.
Okay, yeah,
As
but
high as
I think he was
13.
12 last week. So at the
I
same
wonder
time,
where those people went.
Bernie. They're waiting for Bernie because you know what? It's never too late, Bernie.
Right.
Bernie could throw his hat in October.
This is my I'm not amused face.
I know. That's why I said it. But anyway, so that's what's going on with the third parties. But we'll talk more about the people who are much more likely to win.
It's just a way for him to get out there, Evan,
Yeah.
get out there, write a book, and say he ran for president.
That's what people said about Trump. That
Andre-
he was waiting
well,
for him
I
to get out there.
know, but at this
Stephen Vote
point,
Johnson. Andre's saying Stephen Vote Johnson. We'll see. I got to look into it
Andre,
more.
I believe,
We'll
is the
see.
guy in Portugal.
Yeah,
and
we'll see.
He wants you to vote
Here's
for
the
Gary
deal.
Johnson.
Being an undecided voter, it's like, I don't know what to do. There's so much disgraceful rhetoric going on in the major parties. It really comes down to, it's like, I can't stomach the fact that I may have to pay more taxes. That's very, very
I
important
think I'm willing to pay more taxes
I am
as
not.
long as Trump is not the president.
I think
I
I
am
would be as
not.
well.
It's called
So
the
if there's
Trump
a-
It's part of
exclusionary
the greater
tax.
good,
yeah.
I'm willing to pay it.
For the greater good, I
no
would.
Trump
Yes,
tax.
for the greater
Yes.
good. Yes,
No, I mean-
absolutely.
But you're not willing to pay more taxes.
I'm not.
regardless.
And for me, the way I work for a company, I'm in sales, so I have like a base plus commissions. My commission dollars are taxed already like over 50% sometimes.
Yeah, because you didn't get the memo that you're supposed to be self-employed or have your own company, your own corporation, so that you can pay an effective
so I can
tax
pay
rate of
35%
no.
in small business tax?
No, look at the actual figures of what they pay. It turns out the reality, after all the deductions, exemptions, and tax offshore tax havens, effective tax rate of 12.6%.
I don't have an offshore tax deduction and all those deductions. If you hit every single one, maybe it drops it down to 12. For the majority of
2/3.
small businesses, I think they're probably still way high up there. Under Trump, you'd be at 15%.
Well,
How about that?
I think that what we're seeing is that it doesn't matter who you sit next to. You are here to mix
I just
it up.
can't stomach to pay more money in taxes, and that's a huge thing for me.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
no,
Obviously, we're
I-
talking about
I
the
know,
no Trump
I don't-
tax.
I
the
don't-
working middle class.
I don't
it's
think,
like-
I don't think that the Democrats are going to be raising taxes on middle class either.
Hillary Clinton verbalized it and literally said it. What do you mean? Did she not? Are you guys disavowing that?
I have seen headlines
seen
that
the
she did.
most
I
of it
saw
would
the
go to
video. You haven't seen the video?
They're not gonna-
She literally
they're
said,
not gonna
we're
raise
going to
taxes on
raise the
middle
taxes
class."
on the middle
No.
class.
She says we
No.
aren't, and then she got cut off, or she cut
False.
herself
No,
off.
they're not going to raise taxes
No,
on the
Why
middle
didn't
class.
she go back and reiterate then and clarify?
A linguist was
Well-
actually called in to look at
really?
this and heard her say the N part of RN, but not the T. So the N is enough to indicate that she intended to say aren't going to raise
Well,
the
all right,
taxes.
here we go.
I'm just saying it's
Why
not
don't
going to be
we-
popular
I'm
for
just
anyone to
telling
raise
you-
taxes
I'm
on
just
middle
telling
class.
Why don't we all do some
A real
homework
life
for next
linguist.
week's show? Sorry about that. Let's do some homework for next week's show, and then we'll all try and look, and we'll be our own linguists.
Taxes
and
are
see
too
what we have to
high
say.
as it is, regardless.
I'm
No,
all right with that.
But
So,
50
I agree that
50%
taxes
of
need to be
the
simplified.
federal.
does anybody else here on the panel pay property tax?
Yes.
Okay. So, because that's like, you don't pay enough taxes. Here's another insane amount of tax that you have to pay.
Plus, we
every
live
year.
in California, our state income tax.
Yes, exactly. So I agree.
But anyway, what I did
It
want to
needs be
talk
simplified.
about was, there were some problems for Hillary this week. That's why this is, bad timing for Donald. So there was another WikiLeaks dump of emails and showed that she was maybe a little too involved in Turkey and Iran as Secretary of State. But the thing that really got her into a lot of trouble, the title of this episode, was that she said the terminology she used was that she short-circuited. And, This was in response to the mischaracterization of the FBI investigation into her private email server. She said, quote, may have short-circuited, unquote, in her remarks during a televised interview on Sunday when she asserted that James Comey, the FBI director, had called her statements about private email servers truthful. So there was a lot of short-circuiting memes for about 20 hours. Not even. It was more like 12 because then Trump made his comments. But I don't know. Let's talk to people who are inclined to vote for Hillary. What do you think when you hear stuff like that? That basically lying is short-circuiting.
Lying is crooked Hillary.
Your voice is so excited and animated to say that.
Great.
You like that? Comes from a place of truth.
Feel that.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
True. No, but what do you think when you hear stuff like that?
Look, I know that the verbiage, the use of the word was a little bit politically, it was a little silly.
I mean, and she could have said what people usually say is, I misspoke. I was mistaken.
Exactly. It's a little too wonky.
But she definitely short-circuited, and I haven't seen it, but they're apparently...
Did she lie, yes or no, Scott? Did
lie
she lie?
about what? The emails?
What Comey said. Just that, about what he said.
I think what she was saying is that she made it sound like he was saying she was truthful when he was referring to what was going on with the emails and she made it sound like it was her.
Do you think
Scott, did she lie, yes or no?
Are you asking me if I think she lied?
Yes.
Do I think she's been 100%
Gain
open?
some credibility.
No,
right
I'm just
now.
saying. I
earn some credibility. Did she lie?
I'm thinking the email thing is out of proportion. I don't think she necessarily lied, but what she did was stupid.
Well,
So she
totally
didn't lie
agree.
about the emails.
Do
She
you
didn't.
think-
She didn't say I only use one device.
Okay, let's take
She
some
didn't say
heat
that I
off
only-
of Scott, and
I didn't
I will
send any
take some over here.
classified.
Well, no, this is a
Hold
general
on.
question. Do you think that Hillary is so deep into her own bullshit that she believes it at this point?
I think there is part of
That's a
that.
good
Yes,
question.
that I do think there is part of that.
Like, she thinks,
But-
there's no way that he said I lied. You know,
yeah, and
he's
that
one of
she's
my
trying
guys.
to believe it herself.
Yeah.
But I think that what she did was stupid and wasn't thought through. But as we've seen, other government officials have been doing this for years too. So it's been focused back on her when you think about all the Republican people in the past who've done the same exact thing.
Well,
did I say it's right? No, it's not. And it was
Chelsea
stupid.
wanted to jump
Yes.
in.
Let's
so.
just say yes. She
Yes.
lied.
Thank you. Credibility, radar.
No,
went up.
I'm not
And
going to
yet-
say that she. I'm going to say that she probably withheld things, but
No,
I'm not
no,
saying
no.
she blatantly
Here's,
lied.
here's a blatant lie. I only used one device sending emails.
Right.
Comey said she used several. Was that a lie?
What do you guys think?
I don't know.
What do
I
you guys
don't know
think
what she
Drexel
used
would
or
say?
I don't
I
know
have
what she
been
used or
shushed
what
with
she
the
didn't
hand.
use.
No, no.
Do you
No,
think
I'm just saying I
credibility?
don't know what she used or didn't use.
Drexel would.
I can't believe Drexel's not here.
I know.
For this specific point. What do you think?
I don't
I
understand.
think he would point to the other times that other people lied.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying because I'm
Sure,
saying you could go back to the
diverting.
Republicans that did the exact
They
same
all
thing like Colin
lied.
Powell.
They all lied
All of
then.
them.
And I guess
But
the
I'm
question
saying-
is whose
Right.
lies are more dangerous,
Yes.
and whose truths
But
are more dangerous.
We all know all politicians lie to some degree, of course,
And
especially with the short
But you
circuit and
still
everything.
won't say
I don't wanna
it,
say
and
all
that's the
politicians.
issue.
No, I'm saying fine. She lied. I'm sure she lied. Everybody
There it
lies.
is.
But I'm saying,
Didn't that
what
feel
has she
good?
what has she done is the question of like
the
what,
truth will set
right,
you free,
exactly.
even if it pisses you off
Right.
at first.
Good, and that's
No.
okay. Your
No,
candidate
no, but
can
I'm
lie
saying
and do wrong, and you can admit it. It's okay.
Another
I
great,
do admit when people f up. Of course, I admit it.
Another
But I'm
great
saying
comment-
other people have done that too, which hasn't been thrown back
before it disappears
on
from the
Republicans
chat.
too.
Another great comment from Jennifer Wright, who's on
Another
fire
comment.
tonight. Comey don't want to die. So what she's trying to say with that is
body
like,
count?
he's going
Body
to
count
say
will go up.
whatever. Yeah,
I love that.
So
Because the
that-
Clintons got a 90
90
kill
plus
body count on
body
their
count
list.
right now. Yeah, and it's being added. to.
And Bill Maher, a big leftist, big liberal.
He is
and
a very-
he was a
very
big Bernie
liberal guy,
fan.
yeah.
Now he's totally pro Hillary.
Right.
He had some scary rhetoric on his show. I think it was the July 29th
like 2
episode
weeks ago?
at the end, and he was saying, you know what Hillary needs to do? She needs to say, yeah, crooked Hillary, I am crooked.
own it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've killed people. I should
Right.
go to jail. I could run this mother effer from
Right.
the inside. It doesn't even matter. She needs to own that shit. Crooked Hillary, and I'm here to stay. And you know what? There's a little bit of truth to that. I mean, when you got liberals
turn into the skit
with
a little
prominence
bit,
of Bill
you know.
Maher saying stuff like that.
I mean, if
Hillary's
she
scary.
were to embrace it, she'd be like, you know
what
what?
she's done.
I think she could
Maybe I'm a
embrace
little
it.
crooked.
but less scary than
Right.
Right, that's what
Right, less scary
that's
than
what she
Trump.
could say.
Right.
Is like,
Trump
I
hasn't
might,
killed
be, I might be
anybody.
Right.
crooked, but you know what? I'll keep you alive or something.
I-
Well,
I-
unless you're
people to
James
do it.
Comey.
I
What
think
you're saying,
if
like
we
taking
were-
the ownership of it.
If we would have had technology like emails and WikiLeaks in the last 100 years,
Oh my
what kind
God,
of
I
things
know.
do we Would we have found out about politicians?
Right. Think about the things they kept secret with politicians in the past, like FDR, JFK, all those politicians they kept.
We're talking about today.
I know,
No,
but we're
it's
saying
not
there's
irrelevant.
Something
it's
that
not
will
irrelevant.
tie
It's
things
stuff
into
that's happened.
context.
Something that'll tie into something
Right.
that I know Stephen wants to talk about. Think about the fact that if we had, TMZ 80 years ago, you all would have known that Roosevelt can't walk. Because they would have shown you the video, and do you think he gets reelected 3 times?
Exactly.
If you're like, that guy can't walk around. There's actual film of him, kind of hobbling around.
Because there's all these memes up on like Hillary's too fragile to walk up the stairs.
I know that's what Stephen wants to talk about. The fact that there's legitimate concern about Hillary's health. She is always coughing and clearing her throat, but the memes were really making the rounds that she was being helped up the stairs. At least I assume that
She
was
looked
her.
like old granny.
Oh my
But but it's from the back.
Hey, old grannies
God.
can be really smart and effective leaders.
Right.
Not
And that's what
saying
Bill
that
Maher said. We don't
Right.
want the grandma Clinton. We want the crooked, hard ass killer. That's who we want. And that was really funny when Bill Maher said that. I don't want that because I don't like that. But
You don't want killers.
You don't want killer Hillary.
You don't want
Hillary.
You don't want hashtag thug life in the White House.
No, I really don't. But
right.
So are we talking about Hillary's
Well, you can
mental
talk about
state?
it. Yeah, I want to hear what your thoughts
I
about
don't know.
it.
If that's going to be an issue, if Trump's mental state's being talked about, we should definitely talk about Hillary's. But I don't know. Again, I don't think this.
they both released their tax returns and psychological profiles.
Yeah.
We should start a petition.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think this topic deserves a whole ton of time.
No,
Right.
but a moment,
There are definitely people. It's out there. You can look it up.
And Trump still wants to see Obama's transcripts from Harvard. So, enough already.
Wow. He'll do that as soon as he shows his tax returns.
Right,
so.
exactly. Speaking of Trump, the week started off, he was already trying to kind of clean up some messes, which we sort of work backwards on this show. So he had this speech last night, or actually yesterday afternoon, and he had this big economic speech about how he's going to, quote unquote, make America grow again, which I don't know if you guys know this, but that's actually also the slogan for Vivid Video, to make America grow again.
I was going to say for Viagra, but
Hey, we're on the same page. But let's talk about choice and location. Detroit, which as we've discussed here on the show, is in dire straits. It's kind of the worst example of a metropolitan environment. And whose policies over the last 50 years have done that? The Democrats. Democrats are always in power in
but
Detroit.
there's
no Republicans since like the 60s.
No, they've been in power.
argument
Yes,
here.
they've been in power since the 60s. And yes, I know it's separate from the state, which is
Sure.
also run by Republicans, by the way. Both the state house and the governors are Republican. But there's more to the issue than just Democratic policies there. It's the loss of manufacturing jobs that's happened throughout the years. It's the loss of the population. They've lost more than half of their population. So therefore, they are obviously paying people way too much. The government officials, there's pensions that they still owe. They're having to pay. So they have a shrinking tax base, and they're not able to pay for all this stuff. So there's more issues than just Democratic
And the
policies of what's
regulations.
happened there. No, it's more than just
And
that.
what regulations? Like
What
the car
regulations?
regulations?
Because
maybe we should get rid of seatbelts. Those
right, because the auto regulations
are...
have actually been great because
Did we
we've cut
give a massive
fatalities in
bailout
half.
to the car industry?
Yeah, actually,
yeah,
they paid
we
it
did.
back.
Yeah,
They
and
paid it back.
Well, Trump blames a lot of this on NAFTA, and
Right.
there's a direct quote that I'd like to hear what Chelsea thinks. Trump said, "A vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for TPP and NAFTA." Do you agree with that statement?
I am. That is one of my concerns,
Right.
is that Hillary will go back on her anti-TPP pledge. But I'm really relieved that enough Americans have figured out what the TPP is, that made it a big issue, and even some Republicans are coming out against
Right,
it,
but
saying
that's
that
the
there aren't the
thing.
votes for it. So
It's a Republican thing, though.
I'm less afraid of
So
the
do you
TPP.
like Trump on trade then to do individual deals with countries? Instead
don't
of
want
doing
him
jumping out on a
making
group?
deals.
And he's not going to be able to.
It's
it
hard
doesn't
to
work
compare,
that way.
but I feel like in terms of things that are better suited for his skill set, things like that, sure, I feel like he at least understands what he's talking
If he's
about.
going to be
Now,
greedy
I don't know
for
what kind of
the Trump enterprises,
I don't know what kind of
let him
deals
be
he's
greedy
making.
and do his
but-
greedy things for America in terms of trade.
Oh, I think America has been greedy for a
Yes.
long time.
It's not going to be that
and it
easy
hasn't
for him
Wouldn't he
to
fit
do
right
that.
in then?
It hasn't worked really well for the rest of the world, and now the rest of the world is hating us, and
Because we're being taken advantage of.
we are being taken advantage of.
That's why he wants to go. That's why he wants to go do individual
please,
deals
please
with all
stop.
these countries.
Please stop,
But
my
no,
dear.
but the thing about TPP was that was a Republican thing, so it was odd to have him kind of now trying to go against that too. Which
And then,
was, I was surprised about.
NAFTA, everybody's, and I have
And
harped on
NAFTA,
the fact that that was signed by Bill Clinton,
Right.
but that was negotiated
Right.
by his predecessor.
Where does Hillary Clinton stand
by
today
George
on
H.W.
NAFTA?
Bush.
Depends on where
She against it?
what the polling numbers dictate.
I don't
How many
think
times has she been back and forth on it?
it's the TPP. She was against it initially,
Right.
and then for it as Secretary of State
because
she was with the administration,
yes, and the administration
and then-
supported it.
And then after the debates, and she
So
saw.
to steal a line from Anderson Cooper, will she say anything to get elected?
I think that basically. Sorry, I saw something in the chat room that was very distracting.
I can't even read it up there.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
all right.
bad my eyes
No.
are. I'm like, I can't even see
a lot
anything.
of what Trump said in his speech were things like,
Yeah, make it
"We'll be
bigger,
looking
please."
boldly into the future.
Yeah.
This country deserves American cars on the roads, American planes connected." So it's a lot of that. But he actually, thank you very much.
Oh wait, go back up a little bit.
there
There
we
was
go.
somebody from Michigan that said, just like when so many factors. Okay, good. Somebody agreed with that.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Kimberly's a big fan of the
Kimberly.
show. Kimberly Kurzatowski.
Right. It's not just the Democrats. It's true. It's and you think about the suburbs there outside that everyone fled to, and there's more issues than just who was running the city.
But the point I wanted to make about what Trump said, that he actually offered some numbers, some glimpses into his economic plan.
Right.
Now, Stephen probably knows all this because it's on DonaldTrump.com.
And I'm the only one that goes to the
I
website.
still have
It's
not
True.
made
I'm scared to go on it. I went on it once when there was nothing on there months ago.
I have a weird filter on my web browser. It just
afraid
doesn't
to
let me
wait
say
30
something.
seconds.
I think
what
my
it is?
computer will
Yeah.
implode
The
if I go on
eyes.
it.
Now, there were some plans to reduce the number of income tax brackets from
saw
7
that.
to 3.
Right.
That speaks to people like Stephen Helmkamp.
Drops my tax.
12%,
Eliminate income
25%,
taxes.
More money in my
33%.
pocket.
Eliminate income taxes for individuals who earn less than $25,000 or $50,000 for married couples. For your sake, I hope you make more than $25,000.
Poor people should be lining up for Donald Trump.
But poor
There's gonna be
people
way
may
more
have
money in
figured
their
out that
pockets.
they've been voting against their self-interest by voting for
right,
Republicans for a
years now,
long
for
time.
30-something
They
years
might be
now.
waking up
they've
to it
been
now.
Voting
Yeah.
for Democrats, and they think that the
No.
minimum wage is going to help them when companies are going to say, screw that, I'm not paying you that. I'll just build a robot. You go into McDonald's and order your Big Mac on a robot screen.
Some of that was going to happen regardless of
Now-
the minimum wage.
Minimum wage should be $22 now if you're
Especially
for
if
inflation. If you really want to go for
employers
inflation
are
from
going
the
to have
60s.
to pay their employees double, cost of goods are going to go up.
Look, there's going to be a robot lobby that's going to demand that the robots
exactly.
get paid.
wants
It's
to
not
raise
going to be
the
as
minimum
much.
wage anyways.
It's not going to be as much those people think when you really think about it for products. And that's the thing, is it becomes this whole thing. Everyone said that about Obamacare too. That we can't pay our employees anymore, because we're going to have to let them go because we can't afford to pay for that.
If you're making no money and you earn less than $25,000 a year, you pay $0 in income tax. If you're married,
Federal, and you're able to do
Actually,
that now.
45% of
Right.
Americans don't pay federal
No, a lot of people
income
that's-
tax.
Exactly.
why? Because they're on government
Are there
aid, they're on
No,
welfare.
No.
45% of Americans? You're about to have a Mitt Romney 47% moment right now.
Okay.
No,
How do they pay no income tax?
because between income and the standard deduction of right now it's like $9,300, they don't.
Yeah, it's true. There are a lot of
Which is
people
why
do not know
that
that
whole
stat.
that cute
No,
like
Where you got that
let-
percentage from?
I'll show you.
She's doing some math. Hey, there was
But-
one thing that
It's
Trump
fuzzy
said.
math, right? Like,
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
There's one thing that Trump said that did make my ears perk up. All child care expenses tax deductible.
Which
Tax deductible. I don't even care about the rest of it. I'm on board for that.
okay, wait, hold on. Let me please explain this
Sure,
to you,
now
putting
go ahead.
on my Executive Director Financially Fit Foundation hat.
Plug.
Most people, like I just said, 45% of Americans don't pay any federal income tax. So that's not really going to help most people. It's one of those things that sounds good on the
yeah.
surface, but then when you look, it doesn't. And only 30% of people itemize their deductions. Most everybody takes the standard, and so it will make no difference.
And
I think it's a cute thing that he threw in there, maybe at Ivanka's behest, but really, he does not care
And he
about
also brought up the
child
death
care.
taxes
Are these people
too,
making?
and that's not something that affects most people either.
Are you implying that Ivanka's the real puppet master and she pulls the strings, and that the actual President Trump will be Ivanka in Trump Tower
I think
telling him what
she's
to
the
do?
only one he listens to.
Probably right.
Probably right, yeah.
No, he probably listens to Melania. She has a lot to say.
Oh,
Okay.
are we covering about how it may look like she's here or was here illegally?
can certainly
that's
talk
right.
about
Back
it.
in the
On the
90s,
wrong visa?
Right.
Yeah, there was one of those
Yes.
visas that you kind of overextended your
That
stay.
she was like,
Exactly.
I was going back and forth every couple of months because, which would imply that she was
was
here
on a
on
tourist,
but she was
business.
here modeling, which would mean that she was breaking the law. She must go and come
Must
back
be deported
legally.
back to Slovenia.
Wouldn't that be so ironic?
He's gonna build a wall between here and Slovenia. So why did Trump have to make this speech? Because last week he said that he wouldn't endorse Paul Ryan, John McCain, Kelly Ayotte.
How is Ryan's primary going today?
That's right.
I haven't seen what it is, but I feel like he's going to be fine.
I feel like he's going to be fine too.
So he said all that, and he's like, but then he had to do an about face and say, you know what, actually, come to think of it, I do endorse all of them. And it's just, that's worse, because it's like, if you don't support someone, don't support them.
Right.
But then you let everybody tell you, you know what, you should really. And it's like, it was stupid to begin with because every single one of those people he held a grudge against because they didn't endorse him. He doesn't like them. And I don't know, that just speaks to sort of a bigger problem is like that when you have a problem with everybody. Literally who doesn't he have a fight with? He wants to fight Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg's half his size. Yeah. You really want to fight him? I mean, go ahead. He'll bite your kneecaps or something.
If you read his books,
thanks,
he has
Alex.
saying
thank goodness Chelsea's on the table.
Thank goodness
so glad you're back.
Thanks.
Thank you for bringing us that pertinent information,
we
Chelsea.
love having her here.
We do love having her here.
We do.
But in regards to that, I mean, if you read Trump's books, he's always got a chapter on revenge, and his whole motto is, I don't believe in this, but if they hit you, hit them back twice as hard because you want the reputation. Don't be cross. So. Ryan even said, I'm not quite there yet in terms of his endorsement of Trump.
But he did, and then he supported him.
Eventually,
no, but he did. But then the fact that he
Trump
wasn't.
said the same thing, and then did the.
Well, it was silly, and the
it was
fact
a shot.
that the bar was so
somebody
low.
updated us. Ryan won.
Obama Fox won. Ryan won. Thank you, Obama Fox.
Not surprised, but
no, I mean,
Still a bummer.
he's very popular in the state of Wisconsin, and people on the outside like to say that Wisconsin doesn't want Scott Walker and Paul Ryan,
but yet
and they continue to vote for it.
They still voted for them.
They clearly speak to something that they want. So that's Wisconsin for you. So
yet it's still Democratic on the presidential level.
Yeah. So that's what you should.
And Russ Feingold will probably win, and he's a Democrat.
I think Russ Feingold knows John McCain, but I haven't heard anything about that in a long time.
Are we talking about WikiLeaks anymore? Or did we already cover that?
I mean, we sort of talked about it. Did you want to go into specifics?
I just felt like Julian. How do you say his last name?
Julian Assange.
Assange.
Yeah. He was also on with Bill Maher.
Yes,
by the way.
he was last.
That's what I'm saying. Did you see that interview?
Yes,
I read the transcript of it, and basically, Bill Maher was trying to get out of him that, so are you helping out Russia? Because him and Snowden seem to do a lot of things that help out Russia. And he just asked the question, and he's like, why don't we have anything against Donald Trump? Where are his tax returns? Right. If anybody could get Donald Trump's tax returns, WikiLeaks could get it. And Assange said, we have people working on it.
He's like, we're working on it.
And then right away, WikiLeaks is like, no, we're not working on that. There was a tweet, an official WikiLeaks tweet, where they're like, no, we're not looking into that.
What else does WikiLeaks have, you think?
Because they're just doling it out. Because
they've got more.
I'm sure there's a lot.
Have you guys gone in and read the emails?
No.
Not all.
You haven't gone in?
I don't have the security clearance.
Because I have nothing better to do with my time.
Right?
I don't have security clearance. I actually have a friend who works for the government.
Get your credibility
back. He can't read those because he doesn't actually have the security clearance. You can't just look him up.
I mean, it talks about how Hillary armed the rebels of Syria and Libya to overthrow Assad.
It doesn't shock me.
She says the best way to help Israel is to arm the rebels of Syria.
This has been come on.
I know this has been going on.
Bushes did this.
No, this has been going on forever, and it was.
I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not either.
I'm just thinking about which climate of can I most address the political corruption that I see. Is it a Trump White House or a Hillary White House? I see them both as bad.
So that's why there's not two choices. There's not
which one is the more fertile ground for people, for activists to do the work that needs to get done?
Are you even looking at the other candidates?
I think you should read up on Evan McMullin. I feel like he's going to speak to what's important to you.
I've got to choose.
Let's talk about
this show is Trump versus Hillary.
It's not Trump versus Hillary versus Johnson versus Stein versus
because
McMullin.
This is the reality of today.
If somebody else ends up on that debate stage for any of those debates, we'll change the name at least for that one show. So anyway, so there's all of those problems within the GOP, and you see people are just lining up to say, I'm not voting for Trump. There were more than 50 Republican foreign policy and national security experts, some of whom worked for George W. Bush. They all signed a letter denouncing Trump and refusing to vote for him. Now, some people go as far as to say, I'm going to vote for Hillary. We talked about that last week. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think that says, Stephen? Do you think that if somebody who's considering voting for Trump is like, oh, all these establishment Republicans don't like him, does that make him more appealing to the people he's going for anyway?
Well, what did Trump say? And I barely caught a glimpse of it.
His reaction?
Yeah.
He said, these are the people that caught us in the problems that we're now in.
They're the elites, and they're the special interests, and they're the ones that I'm not going to be for.
But these are national security advisors.
Yeah, that specific letter of reference.
Right.
Yeah, so for many, I think the top two issues for Americans seem to be the economy and national security. Right. And so if you look at this body of people as experts on national security, this 50 group would sway those people who are really big on national security.
Well, what was Trump's argument against who these people are?
That these are the people that have gotten us into the
mess.
problems that we currently are in.
Place, right.
And what else?
That was the only thing that...
I wish I would have seen that. I didn't see that.
No, but I think what it says is that I think his core group is probably, of people that are voting for him is probably more excited by the fact that he's still only outside with that.
In our final few minutes here, we always like to talk about the Real Clear Politics average. Right. Right now, that average shows Hillary up nationally, 7.9%. The one that surprised me was her favorability ratings are plus 16.9%. That's a big number. No,
this is all 50.
Average. Yeah.
No,
so that's the average.
If the election was today, she would win by a landslide. I mean, that's basically where George H.W. Bush was in 1988 at the time of the election, and he won.
I just hope Hillary doesn't really think that we're voting for her. We're all voting against.
You know what? She doesn't care.
She doesn't care. She's just like, I'm going to win.
If she gets to cough and hack her way through a speech on January 20th, 2017, she doesn't care how she got there.
Speaking of a live tweet here in regards to that, there are more than two choices. Can you talk about the chances of Johnson getting 15%?
If
we talked about it and the rest of the media talked about Johnson and Stein and actually gave them fair coverage, then you'd maybe see his polling numbers come up a little bit.
I don't think that Jill Stein's going to make much of a difference.
No, she's not.
That's
she's a perennial candidate that's been around, and a lot of people.
Jill Stein and Evan McMullen can have a one-on-one debate. They'll probably enjoy it.
A lot of liberals and independents are favoring Jill Stein versus Gary Johnson.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. I mean, I do think if Chelsea read more Jill Stein, maybe
I would be more aligned with it, but I don't think you just go in at presidential level. You work at the state and local level first.
Vote for her.
But I do want to get to some viewer feedback before we do completely run out of time. So in response to a story that Stephen brought to our attention last week about police arrested 900 Muslim immigrants in England and Wales, saying they were accused of crimes that included rapes and child abuse. A viewer, Aurelia Nash, was very worked up over this, put some stuff in the chat room during the live broadcast, and was upset that it was gone the next day. All the stuff from the live chat goes away, so I said, please send it again. So according to the Sun newspaper in the UK, 238 Syrians were arrested, including 2 for rape, 7 for sex offenses, 3 for death threats. The majority, 226 arrests in London, were for immigration violations. That 900 accumulates numbers from other towns and cities in England, but he's saying that a lot of those arrests are immigration violations and red tape. So now it's like, well, now I'd like to see a third article that, because now these are saying 2 very different things. And, we just like to point to the sources when we get these things. I don't know who's right. They're very different numbers. I certainly welcome a third source if we could look at that, and we would talk about that.
The problem is people are welcome to come, but let's find out who you are. Let's have a good vetting system. Let's figure out who you are.
We have a vetting system that's it's 18 months minimum for these people to get through. It's a very intense vetting process. It's not like people are just...
This wasn't something invented yesterday.
18 months is ridiculous.
No, I mean, that's way too long. Should it...
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're saying shorten it when you just said you make it easier then.
Let's make it more efficient. Why does it take 18 months to figure out who somebody is?
Efficiency, yes, but to say we have to vet...
18 months is a long time.
It is a long time. But again, you're trying to make sure people are going through that are vetted properly.
Two final comments before we go. Zach111, great show again this week. Anytime somebody says great show, I'm going to read it on the air. I want you guys to talk about something because Chelsea wasn't here last week. Regla Vakor, who said I look like Nathan Lane, yes, I'll never forget, said Stephen's joke to Chelsea about the taco bowl was in the worst taste.
Did you read that?
how he was clueless as to what she was saying was incomprehensible. So, Stephen, explain what that meant, and Chelsea, explain how you understood it. And we're all friends here. Everybody
Good news is I don't really remember. These things like slide off my back. I don't really.
Yeah, I was just shooting from the hip. It was off the cuff because Trump thinks he's relatable for eating a taco bowl on Cinco de Mayo. Right. I think that's a joke.
It was just a jab at Trump. Your point that you've made a few times, people could lighten up a little bit.
Thank you.
You know, there was a great tweet that Elizabeth Warren had today.
We could lighten up.
One of your heroes. Elizabeth
What'd
Warren, in response to what Trump had to say about the Second Amendment, he's just mad because he's losing to a girl. That's a great tweet. That's very funny. So I retweeted that, and then somebody,
funny.
And I said, "Oh, burn," and then they wrote, "Indian burn," and I'm like, all right, so that's comedy too. You can laugh at both sides of the argument. Both of those things are funny. Anyway,
so sensitive.
We will be back next Tuesday night at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern.
Already?
Yeah, we're out of time.
So fast. I felt like there was so much more to talk
Imagine
about.
if Drexel was here slowing us down. Just kidding. He'll be back next week.
Love you,
For Scott Moore at SMan80, Stephen Helmkamp at Stephen Helmkamp, Chelsea Galicia at Chelsea Galicia. I'm Christian Bladt at Christian DMZ, and we will see you next Tuesday at 7 Pacific.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.